The script itself, the words itself are the breadcrumbs that you're consuming and following and seeing what emerges from you. I mean, it's not so much making choices as choices making themselves.
8 to 10 minute chunks every day of this story, and we were kind of using that as kind of a marker for like, okay, we need to change it up, we need to change the feeling up, and always trying to do it in a way that was really in service of the story and really in service of upping the intensity or deflating the intensity where we felt like we needed to, or lulling the audience into a certain feeling.
Very specific character centric, right? Like this is basically just you and of course the character of Joe for 90 minutes, right? And something like this, it's like, how do you get down the accent, the mannerisms? Because essentially you lead every single scene of the movie.
The script itself, the words itself are the breadcrumbs that you're consuming and following and seeing what emerges from you. I mean, it's not so much making choices as choices making themselves, according to what happens during rehearsal. A film like this, a script like this, which reads a bit like a stage play. I mean, it's a limited set, it's 2 characters essentially, and it's a lot of words. I mean, it really lends itself to a couple of actors with a director right involved in there, kind of turning it over, plowing this earth and seeing what emerges, and that's what we did. And during the course of this shoot, which was essentially, I believe, a 14-day shoot, that just became the way we worked on it. We'd till the earth of the words, and then we'd back up and we'd say, "Ooh, that's working good," or "Let's move over here," or something like that. And eventually you develop what you find is that the voice is coming out of you is the voice of the old man. The physical life that's you manifesting through is determined by how it feels in that cabin, which is built within a studio in the middle of January and February, and it's cold. And so you do find yourself kind of, hunching over a little bit. You do find, you just you set up circumstances in order for choices to make themselves. And then you edit those choices in a, as they're being made in a hopefully a discerning and smart way.
This film is very different than my films in the past, in that I got to shoot it in linear order, which you never get to do. We got to shoot it from beginning to end pretty much. We had to move around a little bit at one point in the schedule for an actors because it timed out with an actor that way. But we pretty much got to shoot in linear order. And I didn't have a shot list or storyboards before I started, which I always do on anything I made. But like we realized early on in prep that, if we, Stephen Lang has tremendous experience, working a set, whether it's in theater or in film or television. So, we would get in the morning and we would take about 3 or 4 times as long as you typically would to rehearse a scene. They were also very long runs, like I said, like sometimes 8 minutes, sometimes 10, 12-minute runs. And we would get in there and the DP and I would work with the actors, and we'd, figure out how they're working the set and kind of, let them bring discoveries to the table. And then we'd figure out where the best place was to get the camera to kind of capture and represent what they were doing. So it was a little nerve-wracking at first because I'd never done that. I'm always all about having like a really, really rigid plan before I go into something, but there was something very freeing about shooting that way.
How do I know you're not some goddamn psycho killer?
Do I look like a psycho killer to you?
Yes, you do.
Like there was a bit of sass that I always thought was kind of like a good little touch. Right. I think I wrote it down. One of my favorite parts is when you're talking with Joe and you flip the rock down. You said, Spartan baby would have got the cliff. And of course the lines in the script, but it's like you're reading of that, I thought had a sass to it that I thought was so interesting. So it's like something like that. Is that you and the director coming together?
It's just sort of following your instincts on it. And, sometimes you'll find a script that is as word dependent as this one is, you learn to take delight in the actual words themselves, not only the meaning of the words, but the sounds of the words and just the formulation of the words. There's a whole element of babble to what this man is doing, right? Even though he's using words that you and I know the meanings to, he's putting them together in ways that just sound completely obscure and ridiculous at times. So there's I like that aspect of this film as well, which is basically reducing language to something, you know, that doesn't necessarily have meaning, or that the meaning of it has to do with how it's uttered, the atmosphere that it creates, all of that. You know, it's just kind of interesting to me.
No, I agree. Well, because I'm always,
and Lucky was on it. I mean, Lucky's on it the whole time, massaging and saying, "Oh yeah, that's good," or try this. You know, yeah, he's very specific director.
Film is a collaboration. You know, it's not me coming in and working everybody like puppets and saying, you stand here, you say it like this. And, you know, it doesn't work that way. The reason Stephen Lang is on this movie is because he's bringing something to it. And we take full advantage of that. when I take full advantage of that, whenever I'm bringing in when I'm working with any actor, you know, and very early in the process, you have to instill in your own mind, yes, I've been watching this guy in movies since I was 5 years old, but he's an actor. You know, and you know, the thing that's great about Sling is that he still has that fire in his belly. You know, I've worked with people in their 30s or 40s that started out as child actors that are totally jaded and just not having fun with it anymore. But he still has that fire in that belly. He gets up early in the morning, he does his exercise, and he comes to set, and he's really there and he's really engaged. You know, it's nothing is he never acted like our tiny little production was above him.
So, you know, I know that obviously sometimes you write and direct, sometimes you just direct. So I'm always kind of fascinated by the times that you aren't there from the beginning. You're not the writer, right? You're taking a script that's not yours. Clearly there's something in this that's attracting you. You're like, oh, I'm digging, I'm in.
So it was a brilliant collaboration between me and Joel, just in terms of, you know, our personal experience. I think there was trepidation at the beginning because he was probably worried I was going to come in and maul his baby, you know, and maybe I was worried that maybe he wouldn't be pliant or open to the ideas I was bringing to the table. But it was, you know, after a few days of working together, it was like we just hit it off, and we hope to work together on many things in the future. You know, we're like brothers at this point, you know.
This is where the story gets real good.
Well, I kind of one random one before I let you go. I used to watch a lot of times in the VHS era with my dad, Fire Down Below, and you were the little villains. I just got to ask, man, how was it in the early 90s working with a Seagal flick?
Well, working with Seagal is a bit like working with some exotic beast. You know, you have to you give it its due. And you kind of be prepared for whatever might happen. He's very much he's a wild card, is what he was. And I got along with Stephen, you know, without being particularly enamored or of him, but I got along fine with him. He was very, very fond of me, as I recall. I instituted a 6-foot rule with him, though. I said, you can't come within 6 feet of me, Stephen, because I never know if you're going to hug me or punch me, okay?
When it must mean that God hates you.
Cup of coffee? My grandfather told me you can never be too careful in these woods. He told me it's beautiful, but it can also be dangerous.
He was right about that. There's all kind of death and beauty out here. Who the hell are you?
Who the hell are you? This is where the story gets real good.